Tonight, we tuck you in with tales of sand, suffering, and ceremonial constipation. Forget the golden masks and towering pyramids. Being an Egyptian pharaoh was less divine ruler and more overworked, oversunned, and underappreciated. From marrying your sister to micromanaging your own mummification, the job was a never-ending nightmare wrapped in linen and goat milk. So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the slow drip of ancient misery lull you to sleep. No drama, no dazzle, just 20 chapters of gloriously boring royal agony. Perfect for bedtime, terrible for reincarnation. If you enjoy historical suffering, served with a side of sarcasm, don't forget to like, subscribe, and sacrifice a goat to the algorithm. Sweet dreams, Your Majesty. You are Pharaoh, divine ruler, living God, CEO of Sand and Suffering, Inc. Congratulations. You've just inherited the most exhausting job in the ancient world. Your official titles include Son of Ra, Lord of the Two Lands, and Guy who must approve every grain shipment before lunch. You are worshipped, feared, and let's be honest, constantly constipated. The morning routine of a deity. Your day begins before sunrise because Ra doesn't wait for snooze buttons. You read gently awakened by a priest whispering prayers into your ear while another one fans you with ostrich feathers. It sounds luxurious until you realize you've been sleeping on a stone slab in a room that smells like embalming oil and goat. You're bathed in sacred oils, which are just olive oil with delusions of grandeur, dressed in linen so stiff it could double as papyrus, and painted with enough eyeliner to make your enemies weep. You're not allowed to dress yourself because gods don't do buttons. Then comes the daily offering ritual, where you must pretend to enjoy watching a cow get sacrificed while reciting 47 lines of praise to yourself. You're not allowed to sneeze, scratch, or yawn. If you do, the priests will interpret it as a sign of divine displeasure and possibly blame you for the next flood. The burden of being divine. As Pharaoh, you're expected to know everything: agriculture, astronomy, taxation, military strategy, and whether the Nile is feeling moody this season. You must personally approve temple renovations, grain distributions, and which cousin gets to marry which other cousin. You are the HR department of a civilization. You're also the face of every public ceremony: weddings, funerals, harvest festivals, crocodile blessings. You're there, smiling, waving, and pretending not to sweat through your leopard skin cape. You must look serene even when your sandals are filled with sand and your stomach is filled with regret from last night. Fig stew. The loneliness of leadership. Despite being surrounded by servants, scribes, and sycophants, you're profoundly alone. No one tells you the truth. Everyone agrees with you, even when you suggest building a pyramid shaped like a duck. Your advisors nod, scribes write it down, and suddenly you're funding the world's first poultry-themed tomb. You can't confide in anyone. Your wife is also your sister. Your children are plotting succession. Your vizier is suspiciously good at chess. And your cat, your sacred divine cat, has started sleeping in the high priest's chamber. The final straw. By midday, you've survived 3 ceremonies, 2 sandstorms, and 1 awkward diplomatic lunch with a Hittite ambassador who smells like fermented onions. You're bloated, sunburned, and still expected to bless the irrigation canals before dinner. You begin to wonder, would it be easier to fake your death and become a humble papyrus merchant in Thebes, But alas, you are Pharaoh. You are divine. You are doomed. Your throne is designed to impress, not to comfort. It's tall, stiff, and positioned so that everyone must look up at you while you slowly lose circulation in both legs. There are no cushions. Cushions are for peasants. You get a leopard skin throw that smells faintly of incense and regret. You must sit perfectly still for hours while scribes read grain reports, priests chant praises, and foreign dignitaries pretend not to notice the sweat pooling under your ceremonial kilt. You're not allowed to fidget. Fidgeting is undignified. Gods don't wiggle. The climate of cruelty. It's 40 degrees outside. Your palace is made of stone. There is no air conditioning, no fans, and no concept of shade unless you count the occasional palm frond waved by a teenager who hates his job. You're wearing layers of linen, gold jewelry, and a headdress that weighs more than your cat. You were expected to look serene while your armpits stage a rebellion and your sandals melt into the floor. The throne room is filled with incense, which was meant to mask the smell of sweaty priests, but now just smells like spicy despair. You're not allowed to leave until the high priest finishes his 89-minute prayer to the Nile, which includes a dramatic reenactment of last year's flood. The royal sweat protocol pharaohs don't sweat, at least not publicly. If you're caught perspiring, the priests will declare it a sign of divine imbalance. You'll be forced to undergo a purification ritual involving goat's milk, lotus petals, and a lecture from your grandmother. So instead, you sit there, slowly dehydrating, while servants dab your forehead with sacred cloths and whisper encouraging phrases like, "You look radiant, Your Majesty, and only 17 more ceremonies today." The throne room wildlife. You're not alone. The throne room is home to flies, ants, and one particularly aggressive scarab beetle who has taken up residence under your footrest. You're not allowed to swat them. Swatting is undignified. Gods don't flinch. Instead, you must endure the slow crawl of insect legs across your ankle while maintaining eye contact with a Nubian ambassador who is trying to negotiate a grain treaty. You nod solemnly while mentally composing a poem titled Ode to the Beetle Who Lives Rent-Free in My Sandal. The end of the day. Eventually, the ceremonies end. You rise from the throne, legs numb, back aching, and soul slightly wilted. You smile for the crowd, wave to the priests, and retreat to your chamber where you collapse onto your stone bed and whisper, your first task of the day is to be ritually bathed, not in a cozy, spa-like way. No, this is a full-body inspection conducted by 7 priests, 2 scribes, and 1 very judgmental cat. You're scrubbed with sacred oils, which smell suspiciously like expired olive oil mixed with myrrh and mild regret. You're not allowed to bathe yourself. That would be undignified. Instead, you stand there like a soggy statue while the priest recites a 42-line hymn about your divine pores. If you sneeze, it's considered a bad omen. If you fart, it's considered a national emergency. Dressing like a deity, badly. Once you're clean, it's time to get dressed. Your outfit includes a stiff linen tunic that feels like sleeping in parchment, a ceremonial belt that cuts off circulation to your spleen, a headdress that weighs more than your last diplomatic gift from Nubia, enough gold jewelry to make your neck file a worker's complaint. You're not allowed to pick your own outfit. That's the job of the royal wardrobe oracle, who once chose leopard print for a funeral and hasn't been questioned since. You must wear what the gods demand, even if it's 42 degrees Celsius and your tunic is lined with beetle embroidery. The public praise parade. Now, dressed, you're paraded through the palace so everyone can admire your divine presence. Servants bow, scribes scribble. The high priest chants, "Behold the living God," while you try not to trip over your own sandals. You must smile. You must wave. You must pretend you're not sweating through your sacred linen. If you look tired, the priests will declare a balance crisis and force you to drink fermented goat milk as a spiritual cleanse. The daily judgment ceremony. Before breakfast, you must sit through the ceremony of divine approval, where your appearance, aura, and general vibe are judged by a council of elders. They rate your posture, your aura, and whether your eyeliner is symmetrical. If you pass, you're allowed to eat a fig. If you fail, you must fast until sunset and undergo a rebalancing ritual, which involves chanting, incense, and possibly leeches. Breakfast of the damned. Finally, you're allowed to eat. Your breakfast includes a stale loaf of ceremonial bread, a handful of dates that may or may not contain beetles, a goblet of lukewarm beer, because water is for peasants. Let's start with the basics. Linen. It's the fabric of the gods. It's also the fabric of heat rash, thigh chafing, and eternal wedgies. Your tunic is woven from the finest flax, bleached in the sun, and starched to the stiffness of a scroll. It rustles when you walk. It creaks when you sit. It could double as a tent in emergencies. You're not allowed to wear anything practical. No breezy robes. No comfy sandals. Just layers of ceremonial linen that trap heat like a clay oven and make every movement feel like a papyrus origami challenge. Jewelry that tries to kill you now for the accessories. You wear a gold collar that pinches your neck every time you nod. Bracelets so heavy your wrists have developed their own gravitational field. Anklets that jingle ominously with every step, like a divine warning bell. Your headdress is a masterpiece of symbolism and a neck strain. It's shaped like a cobra, weighs as much as a small goat, and must be worn at all times, even while inspecting grain silos or blessing crocodiles. If it slips, you're not allowed to adjust it yourself. That's the job of the royal headdress stabilizer, who once dropped it during a funeral and was reassigned to dung duty. Makeup that melts, you wear eyeliner, not for vanity, for divinity. It's made from crushed minerals, sacred oils, and the tears of your enemies. It's applied by a priest who insists on chanting while drawing perfect wings on your eyelids. If the lines are crooked, it's considered a sign of cosmic imbalance. Unfortunately, it's 40 degrees CC and you're sweating like a cursed camel. The eyeliner melts. The sacred oils drip. You look less like a god and more like a raccoon who's been through emotional trauma. You're not allowed to wipe your face. That's undignified. Instead, you must stand there, blinking slowly, while your high priest whispers, "You look radiant, Your Majesty," and hands you a fig, the curse of the ceremonial cape. Your cape is made of leopard skin. It's symbolic. It's also itchy, heavy, and smells faintly of incense and regret. You wear it during ceremonies, parades, and awkward diplomatic lunches. It drags behind you like a passive-aggressive pet. It once got caught in a grain cart and nearly took you with it. You're not allowed to remove it. That would offend the gods, so you walk slowly, regally, and with the constant fear that your cape will trip you into a sacred fountain. The wardrobe wildlife, your palace, is full of insects. Your wardrobe is their playground. Beetles nest in your sandals. Moths nibble your tunic. One particularly bold scarab has taken up residence in your ceremonial belt and refuses to leave. You name him General Itchy. You're not allowed to swat him. That's undignified. Instead, you endure his tiny rebellions while pretending to be the serene embodiment of Ra. The end of the outfit. By sunset, you've survived 3 ceremonies, 2 wardrobe malfunctions, and 1 diplomatic incident involving a fig-stained tunic. You retreat to your chamber, remove your headdress with a sigh, and whisper, "As Pharaoh." You're expected to keep the bloodline pure. Translation: you marry within the family, not because you're into it, but because the gods allegedly prefer their rulers to be genetically identical to a loaf of ceremonial bread. Your options include your sister, who shares your nose and your ambition, your half-sister, who's already married to your uncle, your cousin, who once tried to poison you over a fig love, irrelevant, romance, optional, genetic diversity, absolutely forbidden, the wedding ceremony of mild horror. Your wedding is a grand affair. There are dancers, priests, and enough incense to fumigate a pyramid. You wear gold. She wears gold. Everyone sweats. The high priest chants blessings while you try not to think about the fact that your bride once stole your favorite cat. You exchange rings, sacred vows, and a ceremonial loaf of bread. Then you're paraded through the palace while servants throw lotus petals and whisper, "May your union be fertile and only mildly cursed." The family tree is a circle. Your children are born into royalty and into a genetic loop tighter than a scarab's spiral. They're adored, pampered, and immediately entered into the royal matchmaking system, which resembles a game of incestuous bingo. Your son might marry his sister. Your daughter might marry her uncle. Your cat remains single by choice. You're expected to smile through it all. If you express discomfort, the priests will accuse you of dishonoring divine tradition and force you to undergo a romantic purification ritual involving goat S milk and awkward eye contact. The emotional toll of dynasty. Dating. You're lonely. You're surrounded by family, but none of them can be trusted. Your wife/sister is plotting succession. Your cousin is spreading rumors. Your mother-in-law is also your aunt, and she's furious about the grain tax. You long for a simple life, a humble romance with a papyrus merchant, a quiet dinner without ceremonial figs, a partner who doesn't share your DNA. Your child is born under a canopy of lotus petals, sacred chants, and 47 astrologers arguing about which constellation will define their destiny. The high priest declares the baby a gift from Ra. You declare the baby loud. They are immediately wrapped in ceremonial linen, assigned 3 wet nurses, and given a miniature gold collar that they will chew on until it resembles a sacred pretzel. The royal toddler phase. By age 2, your child has a personal scribe, throws figs at servants, demands to be addressed as Little Majesty. They are adored by the palace. Every tantrum is interpreted as divine displeasure. Every burp is recorded in the royal archives. When they bite the high priest, it's considered a spiritual awakening. You try to discipline them. You're told that gods cannot be scolded. You try again. They throw a ceremonial loaf at your head. Toys, tutors, and tiny thrones. Your child has a miniature throne carved from obsidian, a pet ibis named Fluffy, a tutor who cries daily, They study hieroglyphs, astronomy, and how to glare at diplomats. They are trained in royal etiquette, which mostly involves learning how to look bored during grain inspections. You catch them drawing on temple walls. They claim it's a new form of divine expression. The priests agree. You weep silently into your ceremonial beer. Succession stress. By age 5, your child is declared heir to the throne. They begin issuing decrees like no bedtime for royal children. All cats must wear gold. Ban figs forever. You smile through it. You nod solemnly. You secretly start stockpiling figs. The palace begins preparing for their future reign. You begin preparing for early retirement. Unfortunately, pharaohs don't retire. They just die and get mummified by their cousin. The emotional toll. You love your children. You fear your children. You suspect one of them is plotting your downfall, using a toy chariot and a suspiciously intelligent cat. You long for a quiet life, a humble hut by the Nile, a child who doesn't demand a tribute before breakfast. The royal chefs have prepared a feast to honor your latest victory over the Nubians, or possibly just to celebrate your cat's birthday. It's hard to tell. There are 17 holidays this month, and half of them involve poultry. Tonight's menu includes roasted goose stuffed with dates, and regret honey-glazed locusts, a delicacy allegedly, bread shaped like sacred symbols, and also your face, wine so strong it could embalm a hippo. You sit on a throne made of cedar and questionable decisions. The high priest blesses the meal. The musicians begin playing something that sounds suspiciously like Hot Pharaoh Summer, the fig fiasco. You reach for a fig. It looks innocent. It is not. Moments later, your stomach begins to churn, like the Nile during flood season. You glance at your royal food taster. He is twitching. You glance at your enemies. They are smirking. You realize the fig was cursed, or possibly just expired. Either way, you are doomed. Ancient culinary crimes. The truth is, ancient Egyptian cuisine was a minefield of spoiled meats, preserved with optimism, bread full of sand, for texture allegedly, fermented fish paste that doubled as paint remover, beer brewed in clay pots and flavored with whatever was nearby. You once ate a dish called Priest's Delight. It was mostly onions and regret. The aftermath. You excuse yourself from the banquet. You stagger to your chamber. You are followed by 3 physicians, 2 priests, and 1 guy who claims to be a healing goose. They chant. They wave incense. They prescribe more figs. You scream internally. Royal remedies. The ancient cure for food poisoning includes drinking warm beer mixed with crocodile tears, applying papyrus compresses to your forehead, listening to a lullaby sung by a eunuch named Kevin. You survive, barely. You vow never to eat figs again. You break that vow within 24 hours. Bedtime reflection. As you lie in bed, clutching your stomach and questioning your life choices, you whisper, "Tomorrow, I shall invent refrigeration." But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are bloated, and the goose is still watching you. The moment you ascend the throne, the royal architects begin designing your tomb. You are 14 years old. You still believe in friendship bracelets. They believe in limestone, curses, and budget overruns. Your tomb must include a burial chamber the size of a small village, 42 fake doors for spiritual traffic control, wall art depicting your glorious victories over ducks, frogs, and mildly annoyed neighbors, a trapdoor that leads nowhere just to confuse burglars. You suggest a skylight. They suggest eternal darkness. You compromise with glow-in-the-dark hieroglyphs. Interior design, but make it eternal you want. Gold, everything. A mural of you riding a lion into battle. A statue of your favorite cat, General Meow. You get beige walls, a painting of you harvesting grain, a statue of your least favorite cousin. The artisans insist on traditional motifs. You insist on vibes. They win. The treasure problem. You're buried with 300 jars of honey, 17 wigs. A board game called Senet that no one knows how to play. Enough gold to fund 3 rebellions and a small theme park. You ask for a scroll of your greatest achievements. They give you a scroll listing your dietary restrictions. Tomb Raiders, the uninvited guests. Within weeks of your burial, your tomb is visited by a disgruntled former servant, a gang of amateur archaeologists with zero chill, a goat. They steal your gold. They rearrange your statues. They leave behind a note that reads, "Nice tomb, mid-treasure. You are furious. You are also dead. You haunt them by whispering figs in their dreams. The curse that wasn't. Your tomb was supposed to be protected by a magical curse, a guardian spirit, a very angry priest. Instead, it's protected by a locked door, a sign that says, 'Do not enter.' A single scorpion named Kevin is not very effective. Bedtime reflection as your spirit floats above your looted tomb, watching tourists mispronounce your name and take selfies with your sarcophagus. You whisper, 'Tomorrow, I shall invent security systems.' But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are decorative. And Kevin just quit. Cats are sacred. Cats are powerful. Cats are everywhere. Your palace has 37 cats, 12 cat shrines, 1 high priest who speaks only in meows. Your favorite cat, General Meow, has its own throne, its own jewelry, and its own cult following. When it sneezes, the priests declare a national holiday. When it scratches your face, they call it divine exfoliation. You once tried to discipline it. It stared into your soul. You apologized. The baboon debacle. You were gifted a baboon by a visiting dignitary. You named it Sir Wiggles. It immediately bit your royal wig. Sir Wiggles steals fruit from offerings, mimics your royal decrees, once led a rebellion of palace monkeys. You tried to banish him. He returned with a crown made of figs and a small army. You now refer to him as Your Majesty, the crocodile. In the bathtub, you thought it would be majestic. You thought it would symbolize power. You thought wrong. The crocodile refuses to leave the royal bath, hisses at diplomats, ate your ceremonial sandals. You asked the priests to remove it. They said, "It has chosen you." You now bathe in a bucket. Birds, beetles, and emotional damage. Other royal pets include a falcon named Kevin who dive bombs guests, a scarab beetle collection that keeps escaping, a goose that screams during rituals. You once tried to host a peaceful banquet. The falcon stole the crown. The goose bit the ambassador. The beetles formed a union. You cried into your honeyed locusts. Pet care, ancient edition. Royal pet care includes perfumed baths, gold collars, emotional support priests. Your cat has a better skincare routine than you. Your baboon has a personal chef. Your crocodile has a therapist. You have a headache. Bedtime reflection. As you lie in bed, surrounded by purring cats, baboon shrieks, and the distant splash of a crocodile doing laps, you whisper, "Tomorrow, I shall invent pet training." But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are furry, and Sir Wiggles just declared war. As Pharaoh, You are the living embodiment of Horus, the chosen of Ra, and the spiritual CEO of Egypt Inc. This means your mornings begin with a sacred bath in lotus-infused water, a priest chanting your horoscope, a ceremonial loincloth that rides up in all the wrong places. You are expected to perform rituals that include offering bread to statues, whispering secrets to falcons, dancing slowly while holding a sacred spoon. You once asked if you could skip a ritual. The priests gasped. The statues wept. The falcon judged you. The oil. Situation. Every ritual involves oil. So much oil. You are anointed with sacred myrrh, massaged with lotus balm, sprinkled with something called divine slipperiness. You slip on the temple floor. You land on a priest. You are declared blessed by gravity. The pose of power. You must hold the pose of eternal majesty for 47 minutes while incense burns and the choir sings a hymn called O Pharaoh, please don't blink. The pose involves one arm raised, one leg bent, a facial expression that says, I am wise but feels like I need a snack. You once sneezed during the pose. The high priest fainted. The temple goat screamed. The snake ceremony. Once a month, you must perform the ritual of serpent appeasement. It involves wearing a cobra-shaped hat, reciting ancient poetry to a real snake, pretending not to be terrified. The snake is named Kevin. Kevin is not appeased. Kevin bites the ceremonial drum. You are told this is a good omen. You are not convinced. The humble offering. Despite being divine, you must kneel before statues of gods and offer bread beer, a small dance. You once offered raisins. The priests said, Ra does not snack. You were fined. Bedtime reflection. As you lie in bed, covered in sacred oil, and wondering if Kevin is still in the temple, you whisper, tomorrow I shall invent casual spirituality. But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are slippery, and the sacred spoon is missing. Your daily attire includes a linen kilt so short it qualifies as a suggestion, a beaded collar that weighs more than your dignity, gold sandals that squeak ominously with every step. You're expected to look majestic, radiant, and slightly uncomfortable. You once requested pants. The priests fainted. Fabric fantasies. Ancient Egyptian fashion favored. Linen so fine, it's basically air. Embroidery that takes 47 artisans and one goat to complete colors that symbolize power, fertility, and I spilled wine on this. You wear white for purity. You wear blue for divinity. You wear leopard print because you lost a bet. Jewelry overload. You are adorned with rings on every finger, including toes. A necklace shaped like a falcon, doing taxes. A crown that doubles as a satellite dish. Your jewelry is so heavy, you need a servant just to nod. You once sneezed and launched an earring into orbit. It was declared a miracle. Hair and wigs and existential dread. Your head is shaved daily. Your wig is made of horsehair, palm fiber, and ambition, styled to resemble a divine waterfall, infested with one very judgmental beetle. You wear scented cones of wax on your head during parties. They melt slowly. You smell like a divine candle. Wardrobe malfunctions. You've experienced a kilt collapse during a diplomatic meeting, a wig fire caused by ceremonial incense, a sandal malfunction that led to a national crisis. You once tripped over your own necklace. The priests interpreted it as a sign from the gods. You interpreted it as, I need a tailor. Laundry, ancient edition. Your clothes are washed in. Nile water, crushed lotus petals. The tears of overworked servants. You once tried to do your own laundry. The palace declared a state of emergency. Diplomatic communication is done via papyrus scrolls, delivered by messengers who smell like incense and existential dread. Every scroll begins with, "To the great and radiant Lord of the Sun, whose nostrils are kissed by Ra," and ends with, "May your crops flourish and your enemies stub their toes." You once tried to write a casual note. The scribes added 47 compliments, 12 metaphors, and a drawing of you hugging a falcon. The gift exchange game diplomacy means gifts. Lots of gifts. You send gold statues, perfumed oils, a ceremonial wig. You receive a goat, a suspiciously passive-aggressive vase A letter that says, "Thanks, I guess you once sent a leopard." They sent it back wearing eyeliner and a note that read too much. The alliance headache. You must maintain alliances with Babylon, needy; Hattie, dramatic; Nubia, passive-aggressive; your cousin, unhinged. Each alliance requires monthly letters, annual feasts, pretending you care about their grain surplus. You once forgot to reply to a scroll. They declared war. You sent figs. They forgave you. The diplomatic visit. Foreign dignitaries arrive wearing too much perfume and not enough pants. You must host them in your palace, compliment their sandals, pretend their falcon isn't judging you. You once hosted the king of Mitanni. He brought 17 dancers, 3 camels, and a scroll that said, "Your throne is cute." You smiled. You plotted revenge. The scribe drama. Your royal scribe is overworked, underpaid, emotionally invested in punctuation. He insists on using 14 synonyms for glorious. He cries when you ask for brevity. He once wrote a breakup scroll that caused a famine. You love him. You fear him. Your funeral involves 72 days of mummification, a parade of mourners, some paid, some confused. A priest yelling, "He's totally divine." While waving incense, you are wrapped in linen, stuffed with spices, and placed in a sarcophagus that weighs more than your palace. Your cat gets a smaller one. Your cousin gets jealous. You are buried with gold scrolls, snacks, a board game you never learned to play. The soul, commute. Your soul must travel through the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, which includes a river full of crocodiles, a desert full of existential dread, a toll booth operated by a falcon. With attitude, you board a boat. You are rowed by spirits. You forgot your spiritual passport. Meet Anubis, the jackal auditor. Anubis greets you with a clipboard, a judgmental stare, a question, "Did you floss?" He weighs your heart against the feather of Ma'at. Truth. If your heart is heavier, you are devoured by Amit, a creature that's part lion, part hippo, part nope. You try to bribe him with figs. He is not amused. The paperwork of the dead. You must present the book of the dead, a list of sins you didn't commit, a letter of recommendation from your high priest. You forgot to bring the book. You offer a poem instead. Anubis sighs deeply. The 42 confessions. You must declare, "I did not steal. I did not lie. I did not eat sacred poultry." You say, "I was mostly good. I only lied on feast days." The goose attacked first. The gods deliberate. The goose testifies. You are fined. The field of reeds. If you pass, you enter paradise. Endless crops, eternal naps, no fig-related trauma. You get your own plot of land. You get a spirit cat. You get peace. Until your cousin shows up. He brought his baboon. Bedtime reflection. As your soul lounges in the field of reeds, sipping divine beer and dodging your cousin's pet drama, you whisper, "Tomorrow, I shall invent a simpler afterlife." But you won't, because you are Pharaoh, you are eternal, and Anubis just sent you another form. You died, you were mummified, you passed the feather test, barely. You entered the field of reeds, and then, surprise, the gods decided to reincarnate you. No warning, no consent, just a celestial memo that read, due to spiritual overflow, you have been selected for reactivation. Congratulations. You wake up in a new body. It's shorter, it's itchier, it's allergic to figs. The cosmic help desk. You try to file a complaint. You are directed to the Celestial Bureau of Reincarnation Affairs, staffed entirely by jackals in robes. You ask, why am I back? They reply, because Ra said so. You ask, can I return to the afterlife? They hand you a scroll titled Rebirth Terms and Conditions, which includes no refunds, no exchanges, no fig-related lawsuits. You cry. They offer you a complimentary scarab. Your new life. You are reborn as a minor noble with a sand allergy, a temple scribe with chronic back pain, a goat. You try to reclaim your throne. The current pharaoh laughs. Your cat doesn't recognize you. Your cousin is still alive and still annoying. You whisper, I was once divine. They whisper, you smell like onions. The bureaucracy of being reborn. You must register your soul, attend weekly reincarnation orientation, fill out Form 42B, declaration of former divinity. You once misspelled Pharaoh. They assigned you to dung duty. You try to escape. You are caught by a falcon named Kevin. Kevin is now head of security. Existential crisis, ancient edition. You begin to question the meaning of divinity, the ethics of reincarnation, why your new sandals squeak. You write poetry, you meditate, you eat figs. Regretfully, you ask the gods for guidance. They send a beetle. The beetle ignores you. Your royal planner reads, sunrise, bless the Nile, mid-morning, approve temple renovations, noon, attend the feast of the sacred turnip afternoon, smile at peasants, but not too warmly, evening, participate in the ceremony of eternal wheat midnight, whisper prayers to Ra while balancing a falcon. You ask your scribe, can I take a nap? He replies, only if it's ritually significant. Rituals for everything you must. Bathe in sacred oils. Eat only divinely sanctioned lentils. Wear a headdress that weighs more than your regrets. Even sneezing requires a priest's blessing. You once coughed during the festival of cosmic harmony. The stars were offended. You were fined. The curse of the ceremonial snake. Every Tuesday, you must dance with a ceremonial snake. Compliment its scales. Avoid eye contact. It's sensitive. You once stepped on its tail. It hissed. The high priest declared a national emergency. The temple tour. You visit the temple of Ra, the temple of Hathor, the temple of we not sure what this one says for, but it is important. Each visit requires a speech, a donation, a symbolic shrug. You once skipped a temple. The gods sent a plague of interpretive dancers. The nap that wasn't you. Try to rest. Your bed is made of ceremonial reeds. Your pillow is a stone carved with your name. Your blanket is embroidered with 400 tiny falcons. You close your eyes. A priest enters and says, it is time for the dream ritual. You cry softly into your sacred pillow. The royal complaint scroll. You attempt to file a complaint. The scroll reads, pharaohs do not complain. They ceremonially express mild disappointment. You ceremonially express mild disappointment, moderate exhaustion, severe sandal blisters. The gods respond with a thunderstorm. You are expected to interpret it as encouragement. Your palace is home to a lion named Diplomacy, a baboon named Wisdom, a crocodile named Stephen Justice, the peacock with a thirst for blood. Each animal is sacred. Each animal is symbolic. Each animal is also completely untrained. The peacock problem. Justice was a gift from a foreign dignitary. He arrived in a golden cage, wearing eyeliner. He immediately attacked the high priest. You declared it a divine omen. The high priest declared it a lawsuit. Justice now roams the palace freely. He has eaten 3 ceremonial scrolls, peed on the sacred altar, chased your cousin into a reflecting pool. You tried to discipline him. He stared into your soul and screamed. The baboon. Incident. Wisdom, your baboon, was meant to represent clarity. Instead, he represents chaos. He stole the royal headdress, painted hieroglyphs on your bedroom wall, started a cult. You asked the gods for guidance. They sent a thunderstorm. Wisdom danced in it. Steve the crocodile. Steve is quiet. Steve is patient. Steve is always watching. You once tripped near his pond. He blinked slowly. You apologized. Steve is the only pet who respects you. You fear him deeply. Diplomacy the lion. Diplomacy was supposed to attend royal meetings. Instead, he naps through them. You once tried to ride him into a ceremony. He sat down. You fell off. The crowd applauded. You declared it symbolic. Your scribe declared it a disaster. Divine pet regulations. You attempt to regulate your pets. You issue royal decrees. No biting priests. No stealing sacred fruit. No forming animal alliances. Justice eats the decree. Wisdom laughs. Steve blinks. You are Pharaoh. You are majestic. You are also extremely sweaty. Dressing like a god. Your outfit includes a headdress taller than your ego, a collar made of 400 tiny beads, each blessed by a priest, a tunic so stiff it could double as a tent, sandals made from papyrus and passive aggression. You ask your servant, "Is this breathable?" He replies, "It is divinely suffocating." The linen lie. Everyone says Egyptian linen is soft. It is not. It is scratchy, transparent, in the wrong places, infested with ceremonial beetles. You once wore a tunic backwards. The gods declared it a bold statement. Your cousin declared it a cry for help. The curse of gold. Accessories you must wear. Gold bracelets. Gold anklets. Gold eyebrow rings. Yes, really. Gold is heavy. Gold is itchy. Gold attracts bees. You once sneezed during the Festival of Eternal Shine. Your nose ring flew off and hit a priest. He declared it a divine omen. You declared it a wardrobe malfunction. The oil situation. To stay fragrant, you are slathered in lotus oil frankincense. Something called Royal Essence Number 7. You smell like a sacred garden. You also slip on every marble floor. You once slid into a ceremonial urn. The high priest applauded. Seasonal fashion. Summer. Linen so thin it's legally a suggestion. Headdress with built-in sunshade and falcon perch. Winter. Wool from sacred sheep. Cloak embroidered with 12 angry gods. You once wore the wrong seasonal robe. The Nile flooded. Coincidence? The priests think not. Laundry. Divine addition. Your clothes are washed by temple servants. Moonlight rituals. A goat named Purity. You once spilled sacred wine on your tunic. The stain resembled Anubis. You were fined for blasphemy. You are Pharaoh. You are divine. You are also sleep deprived. The bed of eternal restlessness. Your royal bed is stuffed with sacred reeds, guarded by 2 falcons, named Alertness and Paranoia, sprinkled nightly with dream-enhancing lotus petals. You lie down. You close your eyes. You dream of a talking goat. The high priest declares it a warning. You declare it weird. The prophetic dream problem every dream you have is interpreted by 5 priests, recorded on a scroll, discussed in a 3-hour ceremony. You once dreamed of falling. The priests declared, the Nile will rise. Your enemies will fall. You should avoid stairs. You now sleep in a hammock. The snake dream incident. You dreamed of a snake eating the moon. The priests panicked. The moon festival was canceled. You were blamed for cosmic instability. You tried to explain it was just a dream. They handed you a ceremonial snake. It bit you. You apologized. Sleep rituals. Divine addition. Before bed, you must drink sacred fig tea. Chant 42 names of Rabi, gently slapped by a priest. For spiritual alignment, you once skipped the slap. You dreamed of your cousin becoming pharaoh. You woke up screaming. The dream scroll. Bureaucracy. Each dream must be illustrated by temple artists, filed under divine messages, or mildly concerning, stored in the royal archive of sleep-based decisions. You once dreamed of dancing hippos. It was filed under national security. The nap crisis. You tried to nap during a ceremony. You dreamed of rain. It rained. The priests declared you a prophet. You declared yourself exhausted. Now, every time you yawn, someone lights incense. Bedtime reflection. As you lie in bed, surrounded by scrolls, incense, and falcons who judge your REM cycles, you whisper, tomorrow, I shall invent dream privacy. But you won't. Because you are Pharaoh. You are divine. And the goat just returned in your dreams. Your daily meals include bread shaped like the eye of Horus, lentils blessed by 3 priests and 1 confused goat, figs that represent fertility and mild constipation, beer that tastes like regret and barley. You ask your chef, can I have something spicy? He replies, only if it symbolizes eternal fire. You cry into your ceremonial soup. The fish dilemma. You are forbidden from eating. Catfish, too sacred. Eel, too slippery. Anything that looks judgmental. You once ate a fish that resembled Anubis. The priests declared it blasphemy. You were forced to fast for 3 days and write an apology poem. Onion politics. Onions are sacred symbolic everywhere you eat one. You cry. The high priest nods approvingly. You ask for garlic. He gasps. You are fined. The meat mirage. Meat is rare. Meat is divine. Meat is reserved for ceremonies, sacrifices your cousin's birthday. He's the worst. You once stole a chicken leg from the temple. It was cursed. You developed hiccups that lasted a week. The wine of wisdom. You drink wine to honor the gods, to forget your ceremonial schedule, to survive dinner with your cousin. The wine is thick. The wine is warm. The wine is served in a cup shaped like a sphinx. You once spilled it on your tunic. It formed the shape of a scarab. You were promoted. Dessert, divine addition. Desserts include honey cakes shaped like pyramids, dates stuffed with symbolism, a mysterious pudding called Ra's Delight. No one knows what's in it. You ask for chocolate. Your scribe asks, what is chocolate? You weep for the future. Your royal architect approaches you with a scroll. It reads, proposal, 1 very large triangle. That screams, I'm important. You nod solemnly. You whisper, make it pointier. Designed by divine ego, your pyramid must align with the stars, contain 42 symbolic chambers, be visible from space. even though no one knows what space is. You ask, can it have a moat? The architect replies, moats are for mortals. You add a moat anyway. Construction chaos. You summon 10,000 workers, 400 camels, one priest who specializes in spiritual scaffolding. You declare, let the building begin. It rains. The Nile floods. Your cousin suggests a smaller tomb. You exile him. The stone situation. Each block weighs as much as a chariot, as much as your emotional baggage, as much as Steve the crocodile, who is now supervising. You ask, can we use something lighter? The architect gasps. You are fined for blasphemy, symbolism, overload. Your pyramid must include a chamber that echoes your name, a hallway shaped like a falcon, a secret room for emergency reincarnation. You once requested a skylight. The high priest fainted. The curse of the corner. One corner is misaligned. The stars are offended. The priests perform a 12-hour ritual. You are told to apologize to Orion. You do. Orion does not respond. The finished product. Your pyramid is massive, impressive, slightly crooked. You declare it perfect. Your architect declares early retirement. Steve blinks approvingly. Bedtime reflection. As you lie in bed, gazing at your monument through the royal window, you whisper, tomorrow I shall invent modesty. But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are divine, and your pyramid just cast a shadow over your cousin's house. And so, beneath the crooked shadow of your overcompensating pyramid, you finally crawl into your ceremonial bed, still wearing half a headdress and one sandal. The stars blink above like judgmental gods, and Steve the crocodile hums a lullaby in the distance. Probably, your dreams tonight will be filled with gold that doesn't itch priests who don't interrupt naps, a peacock named Justice who finally respects boundaries. You whisper to the moon, tomorrow I shall invent silence. But you won't, because you are Pharaoh. You are divine. And the gods just scheduled a sunrise ceremony at 4 a.m. Sleep tight, O exhausted ruler of sand and symbolism. May your dreams be figless, falcon-free, and blissfully devoid of prophetic paperwork. Good night.